national support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2024 coming to an end, now is the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide may help you understand some key numbers that could affect your planning next year. There are many important topics to review, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, the guide also focuses on the many ways that the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Take the time now to reflect on your current strategy so you can be fully prepared for any adjustments you may want to make in the future. Get your copy of our new guide, Key Numbers to Know for 2025, by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
As a busy mom, my to-do list is full.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
Visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you on a Jobs Friday here, and at 8:30 a.m. this very morning, in fact, we got the release of the employment situation report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is very nicely nestled inside the U.S. Department of Labor. It's very cute, the little setup they have there.
Is it?
I have no clue.
It's like a Russian nesting doll?
Yes, it's the American DOL version of that.
Got it.
So much more utilitarian, it's not as artfully designed.
Sure.
But that's how I envision the BLS.
Good.
At least. And what we saw, 227,000 jobs created. Estimates were, generally the range that I saw for consensus estimates, depending on what consensus you were looking at, was between 200 and 220,000. So this is, at the high end there, but not a huge divergence.
What did we say yesterday? 175 to 250? Somewhere in that general range
so
expected?
You're right in there.
Yep.
So you're fine on that side of things. The unemployment rate did tick up to 4.2%.
Yep.
And so those are the headline numbers that everyone is going to report.
Other key pieces, last month was pretty bad. They revised those data up a little bit, but not substantially. So the revised numbers for September, in fact, 255,000 jobs were created. That's up by, 20-some-odd thousand.
Yeah.
And then October was revised up to 36,000. So we talked about October. October was a hot mess, both for collection as well as hiring because of hurricanes striking the southeastern United States. With this report, we seem to be confirming that it was more hurricane related than anything else. When you take the 3-month average now of what we've seen here, you're sitting at 173,000 jobs created, which is a touch hotter than you've seen for the rest of this year.
And I think that, again, the headline numbers, if you look at them, the job creation number of 227, okay, that's fine. It shows, a nice bounce back and making up for the weak number in October. The unemployment rate number we need to dig in on a little bit, because this is where I start to look at the report, and as I look through it, I kind of go, this might be a little bit worse than is being led on by the headline numbers here for a couple of reasons.
So to be clear, the unemployment rate spiked up to 4.3. Was it in June or July of this year? It was one of those
August.
2 months. August? Okay.
August.
So August we hit 4.3. We had since come down to 4.1, and today we bumped back up. According to the data released today in November, we bumped up to 4.2%. So what's catching your eye?
So, couple things on this. The first is that unemployment rate. It's the second month in a row that it's gotten lucky because of rounding. The unrounded number is 4.246, so it missed being 4.3 by 0.05%.
Yep.
So that's the first thing that you see. 0.005%. So it missed by like 8 people saying they were unemployed.
Yeah.
So there's something there where, hey, if that happened, this would look a little bit worse. The other piece is that in the last 2 months, the labor force participation rate, which is what the unemployment rate is calculated off of, has declined from 62.7 to 62.5. So if you simply held the labor force participation rate the same, saying the same number of people are participating in the labor force, unemployment looks like it's 4.4, potentially heading to 4.5 right now. And that's a very different picture than the unemployment rate sitting at 4.2. So that to me is something where I say, okay, there's something that is a little bit concerning there. Is it, quite honestly, if the unemployment rate right now was 4.5, I probably would be saying, yeah, there's a real problem here, because that's up from 3.7% a year ago. Like that's a meaningful rise in unemployment, and other than a 1 or 2 month interruption, it's been a pretty consistent trend. So there's a problem there. Is it a 5-alarm fire? No, but it's a 1 to 2 alarm. Like there's a real issue that you have on that side of things.
And if it once again sounds like we are contradicting ourselves in some way, shape, or form, because I just got done telling you that, hey, we created over 200,000 jobs. The revisions from September and October were positive. You've averaged 170 some odd thousand jobs created over the last 3 months now, which is a very normal and healthy pace of job creation. It's because they do contradict themselves. They're two separate surveys, and we talk about this frequently, but I think it's worth reminding folks that the survey that talks about unemployment, you're talking to households. You're going around, you're surveying a few thousand different individuals and asking them, are they working? Are they looking for work? Yes or no. Separately, they're asking a bunch of business owners and HR departments, did you hire people last month? If so, how many of them did you hire? And getting an estimate of how many jobs were created. They're two separate surveys that we use. And once again, they're indicating slightly different things. I don't think that they are completely sending opposite signals, but they're sending slight contradictions here, with unemployment ticking up, fewer people looking for work, and that's tough to put together with 175,000 on average jobs created over the last 3 months.
Other things that are problematic here, the number of people that have been on unemployment for 27 weeks and over continues to increase. It went from 1.6 million to 1.66. It's also up from 1.22 million in the last year. So we've seen an expansion of long-term unemployment by about 400,000 people. So the overall total number of unemployed people is moving up, modestly, but they're kind of coalescing in that long-term unemployment area, which speaks to what we're seeing in the JOLTS report that we got earlier this week, which is, if you have a job, you're not really being laid off, but once you are unemployed, it's taking you longer to find a job because the hiring rate is dropping into an area that's a little bit concerning as well, kind of mid 2014, 2015 levels, to give you a sense of where things are on that front. Other data that we're seeing here, when you look at the establishment survey, like where are the jobs actually being created, they're not being created in large numbers in construction at this point. 10,000 construction jobs added this month after 2,000 last month. So you didn't see some giant bounce back in construction even after construction got back to work in the Southeast after the hurricanes. It's kind of, okay, we're moving ahead there, but nothing huge. It really is places like leisure and hospitality with another 53,000 jobs created. Financial services, 17,000 jobs created. Healthcare and social assistance, 72,000 jobs created. That's where you're seeing this, really happening, and that equates to 75% of the job creation for the month coming in those areas there. Other things that are of note, wage growth, 0.4% for the month, a little bit hotter than you'd like to see. You ideally like to see kind of in that 0.3 range. That's what we've seen historically. And the aggregate payrolls number, what I use as a nice proxy for kind of overall like total income in the U.S. Aggregate payrolls, just a reminder on it, take the job growth over the last year and combine it with the wage growth, and what you end up with is, hey, how much are companies having to pay out as far as salaries, simply because that's how it works. It's how many jobs you adding and how much more are you paying your people. Aggregate wage growth right now, or aggregate payroll growth, coming in at 5.1% for the last year. It's a pretty good number. Pre-pandemic, like in 2015 through 2019, that's what you were seeing. Was kind of 4.8 to 5.3. So 5.1 is fine. That number's been coming down over the last year or so, but we're starting to see some stability in that 5% range. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Big takeaways on this. First, if you're grading this report out just, kind of as an individual one, B-. It's fine, but there's some concerning stuff in there.
Okay.
It's not bad. It's above average, but you got to watch it, and that's why I give it a B- instead of like a B+. Mm-hmm. If you do want to, talk a little bit, and why don't we actually take a quick break here, and when we come back, let's talk a little bit about this in the context of the Fed and what it means about the job they've done to this point and the job they have to do heading into next year.
Wall Street Watch, a full update on the market's performance to date. Weekdays at 10:30, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Protect your assets and avoid tax consequences by getting Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while potentially eliminating your estate taxes. Get yours today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2024 coming to an end, now is the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide may help you understand some key numbers that could affect your planning next year. There are many important topics to review, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, the guide also focuses on the many ways that the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Take the time now to reflect on your current strategy so you can be fully prepared for any adjustments you may want to make in the future. Get your copy of our new guide, Key Numbers to Know for 2025, by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
The Financial Exchange Show podcast drops every day on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. You're listening to the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you in part by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. With winter on the horizon, now's the time to start looking at a fabulous holiday vacation, and there's no better place than the U.S. Virgin Islands. Enjoy perfect weather, world-class dining, incredible beaches, and a vibrant nightlife. No passport is needed, and there's no money to exchange. Take your next vacation in America's Caribbean paradise, the United States Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com to book your trip. That's visitusvi.com.
Chuck, I know we want to move to the Fed and their potential reaction to this. I want to just once again try and describe this labor market, because I hear descriptions of it that range considerably depending on what part of the country you live in and what industry you're in. But I keep concluding that we describe this one as healthy but stagnant, I think, is where I keep going to and what I keep hearing from people. And I think the reason you have to describe it as healthy, by the way, I'll just use one statistic instead of trying to summarize a bunch of them, and we've talked about this one frequently. The employment to population ratio, specifically for 25 to 54-year-olds.
This is another concerning one here.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's experiencing a downturn, but for the most recent reading, it sat at 80.4%. The concerning piece, I'm guessing, for you is that as of September, it was sitting at nearly 81%.
Yeah, I mean, you've had a half percentage point downtick in the last 2 months here.
Right. So is that a trend? Will it continue?
Let me also just talk about like why that's potentially concerning.
Yeah.
Is that if you look at previous recessions, just as an example, during the let's look at like the last 40 years, because I don't really think the 1961 recession is relevant.
Sure.
Here, like it's just kind of a different labor force.
Yep.
Early 1980s. You saw during the 81 into 82 recession, the prime age labor force participation rate went from 75.1 all the way down to 72.8, so about a 2 percentage point decline. You then take a look at early 1990s, S&L crisis, Gulf War, things like that. You saw a decline start in February of 90, a few months before the recession, and it didn't stop until several months after, and again declined by about 2.5%. You go up to 2000 in the tech bubble. You started seeing a decline in April of 2000 from about 81.9%. It bottomed in January of 03. Actually, no, sorry, it didn't bottom fully until September of 03. 78.6%, a drop of like 3.5. You take a look at the financial crisis. Peak there was about 80.3% in January of 07. By the time you got through with the financial crisis in December of 09, it was down to 74.7. So that was a big one. Again, like a 5% shift there. When you start seeing 0.5% shifts in 2 months,
it's concerning.
You kind of look at it and you go, you don't normally see this.
It's
absent some kind of major issue. The last time we saw something like this, by the way, there were 2 instances in the 2010s. One was in 2011, Euro debt crisis, and remember everyone was concerned with double dip recession then.
Yep.
The other one was in 2013, where we had some similar recessionary concerns towards the end of the year, even though the year as a whole was pretty good for markets and the economy. So it's not something that you see all the time. And granted, it's a 2-month trend, so it's a short one.
Yeah.
But it's, hey, if this continues in the December and January data,
yeah, if you're under 80,
boy, we've got something to be a little bit concerned about there.
Yeah, again, and why you have to contextualize it as still healthy, though, even with these declines, because they've declined to a rate, right? 80.4% of prime age workers are employed today, according to the survey. That's higher than any time from 2001 right through 2019. It's a healthier job market. Like even right before the Great Recession, we didn't get to where we are right now. So that's where I have to contextualize it all. Yeah, we got a little bit higher during COVID. We got a little bit higher in the early 2020s right before COVID struck. But other than that, we haven't been at these levels of prime age employment since the dot-com bubble.
So we've got that going on here. Now let's talk a little bit about this in the context of the Fed. We said at the beginning of this year that ultimately this year was going to be the one where you give the Fed a scorecard and, hey, did they achieve the soft landing or not? And the benchmark on that was, hey, did you keep unemployment below 4.5%? And did you keep inflation below 4.5%?
Right.
Did you see any rebounds back into those areas? The answer was, no, you did not. And so, again, I know there's one more CPI to go, but look, it's
not.
We
can't officially call it till January, but we got the soft landing.
I'm gonna call it. Like CPI is not gonna print, 2% for the month of December alone.
Likewise, unemployment's not likely to spike up over 4.5% in December.
We're just not going to get there. The unemployment piece, there's a chance that it could, but I'm basically going to call it here. Guys, the Fed got the soft landing they wanted.
Sure.
Anything that happens from here, yes, it still may be reflective of Fed policy, but the Fed's in a cutting cycle right now, and so if you end up with, a recession in November of next year, or if unemployment gets up to 4.5 in, April or May of next year, guys, the hiking cycle that started, almost 3 years ago now is not something that you can point to and say, yeah, that was a direct cause of that. It's much more, hey, the economy's continued to evolve and things along those lines. And ultimately, economies always, end up seeing some kind of slowing at some, like they don't just grow forever. It's not possible. And I think you have to give the Fed a good amount of credit for being able to pull this off. And I say this, again, anyone who's been listening to the show knows, look, we ripped on them plenty in 22 and even for, a good chunk of 23. But you do have to give them credit where credit's due, and that, hey, they have prevented unemployment from rising the way that it typically would in order to get inflation down to this point, and inflation has not rebounded to the rate that would be concerning again.
That's all they need to do, right? Yeah. Like this is, they succeeded at their only objective this time around. Did they make mistakes before? Yes. We've criticized them for such. But during this cycle, which started in 2022, they kind of nailed it.
They nailed the back half of it. The front end left something to be desired.
Yeah, they hiked too slow. Yeah,
they hiked way too slowly, and quite honestly, probably like 4 to 6 months too late.
And they were purchasing bonds way too late. They were doing a bunch of things on that way up that I think has been troubling. But for the last 2 years, I can't really think of much in the way of criticism, and you can't argue with results.
You can think of this hiking cycle now into the cutting cycle. It's kind of a come from behind victory for the Fed. Was they were down 28-3 to the Falcons. Things were looking pretty darn bad for them, and they pulled one out here. Like I gotta give them credit for that.
Atlanta's never going to air our show, are they? So as we look to December 18th meeting here, we have a 90.5% probability of another quarter point rate hike. This jobs report was kind of the last thing there's another CPI report, but this was one of the last data points the Fed would be looking at as part of that meeting. And so that seems fairly locked in. The big question remains what comes in 2025. And then, more for everyday people out there, what do the longer-term rates do as a result of economic thinking?
Along those lines, you got 10 seconds to give an answer on this. Paul and I did this on Wednesday. What do you think the highest is that the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage hits next year? What do you think the lowest is that it hits?
I think we're already at the highs, and I think it gets down to 6.5%.
So you think we're going to be in a really tight range, like 6.9 to 6.5?
Yeah.
All right, Tucker, you can put that on the board. Let's take a quick break here. We got Wall Street Watch next.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Heads up, athletes, coaches, and parents. Play for life, not just points. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM, is the leading cause of sudden cardiac death, especially in black athletes in sports like football or basketball. If you feel shortness of breath, chest pain, and fatigue, or have a family history of HCM, talk to your doctor. Don't let HCM bench you for good. Learn how to stay in the game at heart.org/HCM student athlete. Your heart, your health, your move.
Protect your assets and avoid tax consequences by getting Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while potentially eliminating your estate taxes. Get yours today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Key Numbers to Know for 2025. Mike, when it comes to 401ks and their contribution limits, 2025 is a little bit unique in that it is the first year of the super catch-up limit.
It is, yeah. So there's a brand new contribution excess amount that you can put into your retirement plan, but only for a very specific window. You must be between the ages of 60 and 63 to participate in this special super catch-up contribution, according to the Secure Act 2.0. And so there's a little bit extra that you might be able to put in if you fall into that age demographic.
So how much is the normal 401k max? How much is the regular catch-up? And then how much is the super catch-up?
Yeah, so for the normal 401k contribution limits, the most that you can put in 2025 is going to be $23,500. If you are over the age of 50, you can do an extra $7,500 into that 401k. And then finally, if you just happen to be in that narrow band, you can do an additional $3,750 catch-up contribution on top of everything else that we already went through.
Folks, our guide this month is titled Key Numbers to Know for 2025, and this is just one of the numbers that's included in it. We also have discussions about IRA contribution limits, tax brackets, a whole bunch of different things that are included in here. How do you request the guide? Call 800-393-4001. That number again to request the guide is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Well, markets are in positive territory as Wall Street reacts to the November jobs report posted this morning, where 227,000 jobs were added last month, better than expectations of 220,000. The unemployment rate also ticked slightly higher to 4.2%. Right now, the Dow is up by 35 points. S&P 500 is up by about 1/3% or 20 points. And the NASDAQ is up nearly 0.75% or 136 points. Russell 2000 is up by about 0.5% or 13 points. 10-year Treasury yield down by 2 basis points at 4.15%. And crude oil down nearly 2%, trading just above $67 a barrel. Lululemon shares jumping by 16% after the athletic apparel retailer beat street expectations for its fiscal third quarter and also raised its annual outlook, citing a strong start to the holiday season. Meanwhile, DocuSign shares surging by 23% after the e-signature company lifted forecasts for key full-year financial measures after business improved in the previous quarter. Elsewhere, Ulta Beauty beat third-quarter earnings and revenue expectations, where the cosmetics retailer also hiked its forecast for the full year. Ulta's stock is up by 10%. Victoria's Secret up by 6% after beating quarterly expectations and raising its full-year outlook. GitLab shares up by 3% after the developer tools software maker beat third-quarter earnings and revenue forecasts and also named a new CEO. And AMC Entertainment shares down by over 8% after the movie theater chain agreed to sell up to 50 million shares. This comes after meme stock trader Roaring Kitty posted to X yesterday, sending shares of both AMC and GameStop up by about 6% on Thursday. I'm Tucker Silva, and that's Wall Street Watch.
So sick of Roaring Kitty already.
We should just not talk about him anymore. He's done.
It's just like, yeah.
His time has played out. He's made hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's just let it go.
Also, we have some breaking news out of, let's see, I think this is New York. I don't know where it happened exactly.
I saw it come across on Bloomberg first.
You saw Bloomberg?
Yes.
They report. So Bloomberg maybe has the original reporting on this, that the TikTok ban was upheld by an appeals court, and so they are now facing a ban of operations in the United States if they do not meet a January 19th deadline to sell TikTok.
One would assume that they can now appeal this to the U.S. Supreme Court and further delay it?
They probably can appeal it to the Supreme Court, who is probably going to make a very quick ruling as to whether or not they're going to take the case, just because there is a time-sensitive issue here.
Yeah.
So again, whether or not the Supreme Court ends up taking the case or not, I think is an open question. But you would likely have them trying to appeal this upward. It's unknown if they would actually end up taking the case.
I know it's been banned in a few other places recently. So in March of 23, New Zealand banned TikTok. The United Kingdom banned TikTok from government workers. In Canada, they banned TikTok from government-issued devices. India, I know it's banned entirely. I'm trying to remember where else it might have been seeing these trends play out.
I mean, that's quite a few major countries.
It is. Sorry, I misspoke. In New Zealand, it's on parliament staff, not on a countrywide ban.
In any case, look, guys, it's a social media company owned by a Chinese company that, if asked by the Chinese military, has to turn over information on whatever is being requested.
This is,
let's be 100%. It shouldn't be able to operate in the United States.
I'm 100% with you. I don't think it should, and I think that the ban should absolutely go forward unless they completely divest of it and sell it to a U.S. entity, which they've said publicly that they are absolutely not going to do. Massively disruptive. Right, like I did 2 interviews this morning with Vinny Penn and Jim Polito, and both of them mentioned TikToks that they have done or viewed over the last few months. Like, this is a huge piece of many people's lives right now, and it's going to be significantly disrupted. I'm kind of excited about it.
Which part?
All of the people. Well, I don't mean to wish misery around people, but I do feel bad for the people who have successfully built a business on it. I don't feel bad for the people that are giving crap financial advice, or the ones that are like stopping foot traffic because they need to film a dance video in front of people.
Here's the thing, though.
Like, that'll just go somewhere else.
But those,
I know.
Right? Like, those are not TikTok. Like, if it wasn't on TikTok, it would be somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's not like TikTok made these problems. So I don't have any problem with people being idiots on TikTok. People are idiots on every social media platform.
And they're just going to migrate to a different one.
Right? They'll go somewhere else. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
The issue is a national security one, and that continues to be the big one that I am focused on with this. In that, if TikTok parent company ByteDance got an order from the Chinese Communist Party, the PLA, who said, hey, you need to, change your algorithm so that it starts showing Americans more of whatever, red peppers or, whatever the heck they want to show us.
They can do so.
They have to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that they can. They have to.
They are legally required in China to do so.
Yeah. So take your bets. Divestiture or no?
Well, the other thing that's really interesting about this,
or ban or no. Like, will this actually go forward?
Here's the thing that's fascinating about this is January 19th is kind of a big day.
Yeah.
It's the last day of the Biden administration.
Yeah.
20th, Trump administration's in office. And Trump, during the last year, after meeting with one of the financiers of TikTok, pivoted from his remember, the Trump administration in his first term wanted to ban TikTok.
Yeah.
And then earlier in this year, he came out and said, no, I think it should be able to continue to operate.
Oh, geez. Huh.
So does TikTok just delay until the 20th and be like, hey, like this, we're just going to wait and see what happens? But by the same token, you sit there and you say, okay, like one of the main points of the Trump campaign is, hey, we don't want to play quite as nice with China. How do we reconcile these two views?
It doesn't seem like it'd be a useful bargaining chip.
For who?
For the Trump administration to say, hey, come to the negotiating table or we'll ban TikTok. Like, I don't. We'll ban a private business that.
I think it's a pretty useful bargaining chip.
You think so?
Direct access to hundreds of millions of Americans.
Yeah. But that's why you can't bargain over it.
Well, I'm not saying that you should bargain over it. Yeah. I'm saying that, like, in theory, if you were willing to bargain over it, it's a good bargaining chip.
You either believe that this is a national security threat or you don't. Therefore, you can't use it as a bargaining chip.
I personally believe it's a national security threat.
Right. Yeah.
Similar to, hey, we probably shouldn't allow Chinese corporations to be buying up businesses right next to military bases and stuff like there's a whole laundry list we can go through.
Yeah.
And TikTok is on that list, in my opinion.
With you.
Let's see. What were we going to talk
Productivity.
about before we got into that? Productivity.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, it's not only good, it's better than just about anywhere else in the world.
No, but productivity in general is good. We want it.
Yeah. Productivity's...
it's great, actually. We love it.
It's probably the best thing you can get out of an economy. Making more stuff with the same number of hours, it's kind of what human advancement is all about.
Exactly. Hey, you figure out how to attach a whole bunch of, fishing hooks to a big line out in the middle of the ocean. Great, you can get a whole bunch of swordfish in one fell swoop. That's productivity instead of having to, cast out there and, what are we going to get? That is productivity, is doing more with less more efficiently. The interesting thing, as you note, is for whatever reason, and no one knows why. So, don't try to make this about, anything. This isn't about any of us. No one knows why the U.S. is seeing increased rates of productivity relative to every other major developed country for the last 5 years.
But over the past 5 years, quarterly year-over-year productivity grown at an average of 2.1%. In Europe, less than 1% over since 2015, so not the exact same time comparison. But and in Canada, annual productivity averaged barely better than 0% since 2019, which is the same 5-year period. Does Canada have access to artificial intelligence, so far as you know, Chuck?
Yes.
Do they have access to free markets?
Pretty darn similar
to
the
the
U.S.
Did they stimulate the economy in similar ways to the United States over the last 5 years?
Yeah.
Pretty good. They're our next-door neighbor, and they are not experiencing the same productivity with access to, I would argue, most of the same tools.
The Canadian economy right now is borderline recessionary.
Yeah.
It's kind of where a lot of people thought the U.S. economy would be right now.
So
a year ago.
It's tough for me to say, we're seeing great productivity growth, and it's all on the back of artificial intelligence. Well, Europe has access to the same AI tools that we do.
Sure.
So I don't, like you said, it's tough to nail down what exactly is causing it, but it is good to celebrate because it's the most important thing in
productivity cures a lot of ills, but no one knows how to generate it consistently, or at least productivity growth consistently. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about parents who say that childcare problems are keeping them out of work and what that situation looks like going forward.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Like our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2024 coming to an end, now is the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide may help you understand some key numbers that could affect your planning next year. There are many important topics to review, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, the guide also focuses on the many ways that the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Take the time now to reflect on your current strategy so you can be fully prepared for any adjustments you may want to make in the future. Get your copy of our new guide, Key Numbers to Know for 2025, by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today, we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there are some high net worth clients that would like to reduce the size of their estate, but they don't want to give up access to their assets. Is there anything they can do?
There certainly is, folks. So this is a combination of things. One, you obviously want to do your basic estate planning first. Get your foundation in place, the basic revocable trust planning to help utilize whatever exemptions you don't use up through gifting. Now, when we talk about reducing the estate, we are talking about gifting. But as you said, they don't want to lose control. So there are these special trusts that are designed called spousal lifetime access trusts, where in essence, you use an LLC to keep control of the investments, manage the investments, and make distributions. And then the non-voting shares get put into these irrevocable trusts where you have each other's spouse has access to the assets. So there's a way of getting the assets into those irrevocable trusts, which are now growing outside of your estate tax-free, while at the same time working together to keep control and use what's in those trusts.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 40 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Miss any of the show? The Financial Exchange Show podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Mike, a piece from Axios here. More parents say childcare problems are keeping them out of work. This according to some new research from the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. And specifically, the number of these childcare-affected parents increased 19% from pre-pandemic to present day.
So it's a survey of people saying that they can't work because of the burdens of childcare, which everyone in this room right now, Tucker, Chuck, and myself, can understand how challenging that could be. My question would be, Chuck, though, when we look at the aggregate data, does it really support this view, I guess, when we're taking a look at things like the percentage of women in the workforce right now compared to 2019 and other statistics? We're pretty much higher on all of these compared to 2019. I guess the question is, how much better could we be doing were childcare not as big an issue as it is?
I have some answers on that.
Do you?
I think I have some answers on that.
Okay.
And for this, we're going to look at what's called prime age employment to population ratio, or prime age EPOP.
Okay. Yes.
Tucker, why are you giggling?
It's just, I knew it was coming. That's all.
Chuck has an acronym for everything.
Yes.
Yeah. EPOP.
Yeah.
Which is different from K-pop, which is Korean pop music, which
Indeed.
is also fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about prime age EPOP. So in January of 2020, just before the pandemic, if you look at overall, prime age EPOP was 80.5%. So that meant that 80.5% of people aged 25 to 54 were working.
When was that?
January of 20.
Okay.
Just before the pandemic.
Yep.
Like literally the last data point you could look at.
Yep.
Today, it's 80.4. So it's basically in line. If we look at it in broken down by gender, for men before the pandemic, it was 86.6. Today it's 86.1. For women, it was 74.6. Today it's 74.8. So women are actually a little bit higher, men are a little bit lower, and you end up basically in the same spot. In theory, let's say that no one had to care for their own children, which is a crazy world, but again, in theory, what can you get to? My guess is probably somewhere around 90%. And the reason that I say that is because ultimately there are really 3 reasons that you are not working in age 25 to 54. Really 4. The first one, and the most likely one, you're taking care of kids. The biggest one.
Sure.
The second piece is you're going back for additional schooling, master's degrees, med school, things like that still happen in your late 20s as opposed to your early 20s.
Yep.
The third one is, hey, you've made enough money or you worked in a certain profession where you are forced to retire early. There are, those professions that force you out at 50 and stuff like that.
The fourth would be illness and disability.
Yep, and the fourth would be illness and disability, and the fifth would be, screw it, I'm just not working and I'm going to figure it out. I'll just stay on the couch at, my butt, which is not a huge piece.
Yeah.
But the biggest one is children because, you look at all of the data.
Sure.
They ask people, why this is, and it's generally children. And so you could probably get this at the absolute theoretical maximum if no one had to take care of their kids is probably around 90%. But you're never going to get there because you have to take care of your own freaking kids at some point at least. No, you can't just pawn them off to someone else forever. Otherwise, they're not really your kids anymore, except in name only.
And it's amazingly tricky to figure out, okay, how much more benefit would we receive by, how much more in tax revenue and productivity would you get by providing something like universal pre-kindergarten? I have no idea how to measure that. You would certainly get more people in the labor force, but how many more and what would it cost is tricky to sort out.
I also, I gave you a theoretical maximum. I'm not sure if that's even, practical, even if you get there, because there might just be more people who are like, no, I'm not going to go back to work. I'm instead going to go and get additional schooling since I don't have to care for the...
90 is pie in the sky.
That's probably, that's the theoretical red line.
If you're retired or nearing retirement and haven't done your planning yet, you could be missing out on opportunities that can save you thousands of dollars. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation, and they have a new guide out this month called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. Early estate planning can have many benefits, especially if you want to protect the assets, but there's another big advantage. Doing your planning the right way might also help you eliminate your estate taxes. Learn how to keep your assets in your family and avoid probate. Get Cushing & Dolan's brand new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
I want to talk about this piece from the Boston Globe. It's talking about Boston's housing crisis and saying, hey, we invited a bunch of people up from Austin, Texas to tell us what they did to fix their crisis. Could it work here?
Guess what they did?
They allowed it to be much easier to zone multifamily.
Oh, so that works, huh?
So, look, it does, but there's also some major differences. Like, Austin, Texas is 319 square miles of land area.
Yeah.
Boston, Massachusetts is 48. We can't just compare. They're not the same. They're fundamentally different. And by the way, so you talk about that and you say, okay, well, Austin has more people. Yeah, Austin does have more people. It's got 974,000 instead of 675. So Austin is 8 times the size of Boston and has 20% more people.
Yeah.
So
it's a few reasons housing's more affordable.
It's a lot easier to solve that problem than the Boston one. I'm not saying don't upzone and allow for more multifamily construction. I'm saying unless you're going to find Boston another 260 square miles of land area, instead of the big dig, we could do the big fill and just fill in the Atlantic Ocean. That'd be kind of fun. I also like the idea of the big fill. It's like, hey, 20 years ago we dug.
Just thinking about my very small neighbor.
Now we're going to fill that hole in. The big one, the Atlantic Ocean. And then put a new time zone there for us because it's further east. Let's take a quick break. We got more coming up after this.
Are
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM, Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network. Protect your assets and avoid tax consequences by getting Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while potentially eliminating your estate taxes. Get yours today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Our guide this month is titled The Key Numbers to Know for 2025. Mike, one of the questions that we get asked quite often is, how much can I gift in any given year without having to file a tax return or pay any tax on it? What does that number look like for 2025?
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of confusion about this, Chuck. I think there's a lot of folks who assume that when you give a gift or receive a gift, there's taxes due at the time. And that is almost never the case unless we are talking about tremendous dollar amounts.
Sure.
In 2025, the gift tax exclusion amount is going up to $19,000 from $18,000. That means that you can give up to $19,000 to any individual without having to file the special return of a gift.
What about if I am trying to make a gift in conjunction with a spouse? How does that work in terms of what we're able to do?
Yeah, I mean, you're able to double it immediately, right? So that $19,000 gets doubled. Keep in mind, too, that these are the gift tax limits per individual. And so you have seen people say, okay, I'm going to gift money to my son, my daughter-in-law, their 3 children, and in each of those cases, if you are married, that could be $38,000 per person without even have to file a tax return.
Our guide this month is titled The Key Numbers to Know in 2025, and it covers these numbers and a whole bunch more that can help you optimize your financial plan. We also have discussions about IRA contribution limits, tax brackets, a whole bunch of different things that are included in here. How do you request the guide? Call 800-393-4001. Again, that number is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all 3 and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Are you retired like me, and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it, and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, the Tax Relief Line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to 0. That's right, if you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to 0 due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
Heads up, athletes, coaches, and parents. Play for life, not just points. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM, is the leading cause of sudden cardiac death, especially in black athletes in sports like football or basketball. If you feel shortness of breath, chest pain, and fatigue, or have a family history of HCM, talk to your doctor. Don't let HCM bent you for good. Learn how to stay in the game at heart.org/HCM student athlete. Your heart, your health, your move.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Kicking off hour 2 on the Financial Exchange, it is Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you on a Jobs Friday. 227,000 jobs created, though the unemployment rate did rise slightly to 4.2% for the month of November. Few concerning signs underneath the hood as well, so even though the headline number was good, it's one that we looked at and said, yeah, there's a few problems here that need to start showing a little bit of recovery in the coming months. Nothing that is, a huge glaring red flag, but, a few things that need to be buttoned up in order for us to say, yeah, the labor market is getting healthier instead of continuing to weaken. Markets responding with kind of a shrug for the most part. The Dow's up 39 points, 0.1%. S&P's up 20 points, so about 1/3%. And the NASDAQ is up 134 points. NASDAQ's strength over the last week has been impressive, especially given the last 5 months before that didn't really have much strength in the NASDAQ. The 10-year U.S. Treasury is down 1 basis point to 4.17%. We've got oil off 97 cents today to 67.33. That has also pushed the AAA national average for gas prices down to 3.02 0.6 cents, down another 0.6 from yesterday. So continuing to make their way down towards that $3 mark nationally. We're not there yet, but we might get there next week. So a little bit of movement on that front. And we've got gold today up 10.60 an ounce to 26.59 and 0 cents. I just like to add the 0 cents.
Yeah,
because,
important.
When something costs almost $2,700 an ounce, every cent counts,
I want to talk about a piece from the Wall Street Journal. Do you want to talk about cars, though?
No.
Okay.
What do you got? I'm trying to read it sideways. Is this wildly overvalued stock market doomed? Yes, but maybe not yet.
So I know it's a sensationalist headline, but I actually think it fits pretty well into a point that we have been attempting to.
Sensationalist. It's wishy-washy. Yes, but maybe not yet.
Yeah, it's wishy-washy and it's a bad headline. But
terrible headline.
If investors out there aren't really aware of this market right now, and trust me, I talk to plenty of people who are not really aware of just how pricey stocks are and just how pessimistic big banks are about the long-term future. I think they need to get a little bit educated. And so I kind of put this as like one of the more important general market pieces that the Wall Street Journal has put together this entire year. And so to frame it, big banks like Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, are predicting that markets only return like 0 to 3% over the next decade, and repeat something that we saw in times like the 2000s decade, where markets just didn't really make any money. And if you're not really prepared for something like that, we haven't seen it in 20 years, and it could really ruin you.
Is there any evidence that they're any good at this, though?
None.
Like, why should I? I'm not saying that I should or shouldn't, but should I listen to Goldman Sachs?
No, I don't think you should believe and fund your investment strategy based on them thinking that markets are only going to do 3% per year. But what I would say is that I think there's a large portion of Americans who don't even realize that that's a possibility.
That's fair. And I think if you look at this, like, let's look at a decade. And I'm using data here from a website called Don't Quit Your Day Job, and I'm not
Good
going
advice.
to. But they calculate different historical returns for different indices and things like that. And so the S&P 500, if you look at 10-year periods historically, according to their data, the average return is 9.346%.
Got that?
And the median, 50th percentile returns, is 8.687%.
Okay, pretty narrow.
So, well, that's again average and median.
Yep, I agree. But it indicates that that's a pretty good number to use.
The S&P 500, according to them, has returned under 3% per year for a decade, 8% of the time. So 92% of circumstances, the S&P 500 has beaten what Goldman is saying it's going to do for the next decade. So what I will say on this, I looked back just because I was curious. Goldman back in 2012 said that the next decade, 2012 through 22, would have 8% equity returns over that time period, which was kind of just a boring, like,
average.
Yeah, sure. Like, you think stocks are going to be average over the next decade. Like
2012 through 22.
How do I pay you for this valuable information?
They were probably pretty close, weren't they?
They were
2012 through 22. I mean,
they were probably better. So just looking at it here. So 2012 was 16, 2013 was 32, 2014 was 13, 2015 was 1, 2016 12, 2017 21, 2018 minus 4, 2019 31, 2020 18, 2021 was 28%. So like it was probably like 13 or 14%.
Okay.
But again, like they shot their shot and whatever. It's fine.
I think the point that the article is making, though, is that when you contextualize those same returns around periods of time that have put stocks as pricey as they are right now, the results have been bad.
They have been, but it still is a gutsy move for Goldman to come out and be like, hey, stocks are going to be like bottom 8th percentile bad over the next decade. And Bank of America saying, hey, you might get 0 to 1% for the next year. That is like bottom 2nd percentile bad.
Yeah, almost never happens. Now, the question is, Bank of America, your analysts are saying this. Your head of your bank is putting out this projection.
And yet you just put out that next year, the S&P 500 is going to be up like 10%.
Right. And that would be what I ask Goldman and Bank of America is when somebody walks into, let's use Bank of America because Goldman, it doesn't work this way, but when somebody walks into your bank and speaks to one of your Merrill investment managers, what are they saying? What are they telling those clients that are that are saying, I have money here that I need to do something
Well, because here's the thing. If Bank of America is saying, let me see what their 2025...
Because if you think stocks are going to earn 0 to 1%, guess what? The 10-year Treasury is earning like 4.3.
So Bank of America's target is, they did this just to be funny, is 6,666. That's their end-of-year target for next year. 10.5% gains based on where it was 4 days ago when they made that prediction.
Yeah.
So if Bank of America is saying, hey, the next decade you're going to get 1% a year on stocks, but next year you're going to return 10, then that basically means, hey, after next year we expect 0.
Yeah.
Which then raises, not begs the question, dear Bank of America, after I invest in your stocks next year, why should I invest in stocks for the next 9 years?
It's a good question.
Like, because, again, this is what they are saying. Now, I don't have a 12-month prediction for the S&P 500. I don't have a 120-month prediction for the S&P 500. I'm not smart enough to look out 10 years in the future and tell you what stocks are going to return. But when Bank of America is saying, hey, your stocks are going to return basically nothing for the next 10 years, but next year's going to be good, well, so that means
seems a little self-serving.
So that means that the next 9 are going to be really bad, huh?
Yeah.
And so this is...
What does one do with all of this, though? Like, what am I supposed to do with this Joe Normal with a 401k?
Ignore it.
Yeah.
Ignore it, because they never come out and tell you, hey, we were wrong, and here's how we've adjusted our model to get better.
Yeah.
And they only tell you these once a year. You notice how they never tell you the next month's price target?
Here's what I would say. I wouldn't say ignore it. I would say, tell me what happens to your personal financial situation if they're right.
About which part?
About the next decade returning nothing for stocks. Can you survive if that happens? That's an important question for everyone to ask themselves. So, and that's not because Bank of America is saying that it's going to happen. That's because if you're evaluating your own situation and you haven't tested that theory, then you're doing yourself a disservice anytime.
Right, yeah. I do think a fair question is, hey, can I assume that stocks are going to be as good as they've been for the last 10 years?
I would.
Probably not.
Right.
You know, it's like that's a tough performance to repeat. And if you're banking on that for your financial security, you might need a little bit of work. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk about how Americans' cars are getting older and creakier. And we're also going to do a little bit of trivia right after this.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show. And let us know what you think about the stories we're covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Croy, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2024 coming to an end, now is the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide may help you understand some key numbers that could affect your planning next year. There are many important topics to review, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, the guide also focuses on the many ways that the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Take the time now to reflect on your current strategy so you can be fully prepared for any adjustments you may want to make in the future. Get your copy of our new guide, Key Numbers to Know for 2025, by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there have been major changes with the Massachusetts exemption amounts. What is the new exemption for the state? Does that mean that a married couple living in Massachusetts with $4 million in assets could eliminate their estate taxes?
So, yes, there has been some changes. Now we're almost a full year in, of course, heading into a second year into the change. The change is now $2 million. It used to be $1 million for estate tax exemption. Now it's up to $2 million. And yes, if you are married, but you actually do trust planning, you can shelter $4 million. But folks, that doesn't mean that's all you do. For folks with $3 million that want to eliminate taxes, we can do that. But we can also think about protecting assets from the cost of long-term care. It allows us to do both a little easier now with a higher estate tax exemption. So think about ways in which you can use the irrevocable trust to not only shelter and be able to reduce your estate tax by sheltering up to $2 million on the death of each spouse, but also starting that important 5-year waiting period running to protect those assets from the cost of long-term care.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 40 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide. It's called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You can call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request the guide from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. If you missed any of today's show, catch up whenever you want on our YouTube page. Find daily show segments and full shows. Just go to youtube.com and search for The Financial Exchange. This is your home for breaking business and financial news. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, let's do a little bit of trivia here on the Financial Exchange. On this day, back in 1988, Roy Orbison passed away after suffering a massive heart attack at the age of 52. Earlier that year, Orbison joined a supergroup with Tom Petty, George Harrison, Bob Dylan, and Jeff Lynne. Trivia question today. What was the name of the rock supergroup that featured Roy Orbison? Once again, what was the name of the rock supergroup that featured Roy Orbison? Be the second person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer. You win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, be the second correct response to text us at 617-362-1385 to win that t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Piece from the Wall Street Journal. Americans' cars keep getting older and creakier is the headline. The subheader is drivers are skimping to save a few bucks. That could mean bigger bills down the road and a rebound for the parts and service companies. So, no.
Which part?
All of it. Well,
you don't think,
cars are getting older and
cars are
creakier.
getting older and creakier. That's true.
Drivers are skimping to save a few bucks. They're not doing this because they're like, yeah, I love saving money and this is the best. They're doing it because they don't have the money to pay for those repairs. So when the bigger ones come, they're not going to be able to pay for those either.
Right. I mean, it's getting bad enough that people are foregoing auto insurance on their cars.
Right.
Which is illegal in every state other than New Hampshire.
It's not like, hey, you know what? I'm going to put off this $300 bill so I can spend $3,000 in a couple of years. No, everyone who's ever owned anything knows that if you can, you do some preventive maintenance to save a big bill down the road. I'm just not buying that Americans are sitting there going, Americans have not forgotten this.
And service companies.
Yeah, we're just trying to put this off as long as possible so that we can spend 10 times as much later.
Unfortunately, too, you've talked about stuff around the home and how easy it is to pull up a YouTube video. I did the same thing last night. I needed to unclog a bathtub drain, and I didn't have the tool I needed to remove the actual drain, and I pulled up a quick YouTube video, found out
all
how
you need
I
is
can
a
do
golf
it.
club and a squirrel, and you're good.
Needle nose pliers, and figured it out.
That'll do too.
That's not really doable in cars that were built over the last decade. Some things are. You can change your oil. You can do some things on your own. But the diagnostics tools required to even figure out what's wrong with your car these days are not really available to the general public.
By the way, that's also starting to happen with some home stuff as well.
Yeah.
You look at anything, not anything, but a lot of stuff that's HVAC related and the tech that goes into it now.
Yep.
And it's not as simple as, okay, I can do this with whatever's in my garage. It might mean that you have to have specific training on the computer parts for, whatever is in your boiler or whatever is in your, whatever, your air conditioner. It's not as simple as it used to be.
I do get the older cars piece, though. I mean, with the pricing of cars these days, it's just ludicrous.
With the pricing of cars that people are choosing these days.
Yeah.
I maintain anyone who wants to can get a very capable vehicle for under $32,000. You don't have to be spending the $48,000 average that Americans spends on new cars.
100%.
You can get very, very capable, very comfortable vehicles in the 20s. Brand new.
I drive a 2022 Honda Civic, and my cars are so old and lame that my kids call it the cool car. We have 3 cars. The cool one is the Civic.
I hate to know what the bad ones are. The uncool ones are real.
They're really uncool.
We've got a Yugo, a covered wagon, and a dog
Civic.
sled.
Yeah. It's gotten bad around the Armstrong house.
South Korean president could declare martial law again, says ruling party leader. I'm sorry. So the reason that I can laugh about this is because basically nothing's happened at this point. No one's died. I get that it's nerve-wracking for those who are over in Korea. I have 3 buddies who live in Korea right now. 2 are Korean and from there, and 1 is stationed there in the military. And, they're a little frustrated and a little on edge because of all this, obviously.
Well, and also, you think about South Korea, you got to be some of the most amazingly resilient people when it comes to emergency type situations. Your next door neighbor launches rockets and threatens to bomb you every other day.
You have a certain sense of calm about stuff because you have to. The best thing I saw so far out of the protests on this, there were probably, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people gathered in some square in Seoul, and they had written an impeachment song to the tune of Feliz Navidad, where it basically the whole premise of it was the only way we can have a happy Christmas is if Yoon is impeached. And so it's
creative,
but it was fantastic, and it was in Korean, so I couldn't understand it, but I just thought it was really good. But okay, so you tried a surprise coup on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Now you're telling people that you're going to try to coup again, maybe this weekend. We couldn't do it with the element of surprise, but if we tell people it's coming, maybe we'll get different results. Like, what are you trying to do here at this point?
Yeah, you are out, sir.
You know,
I mean, your acting defense chief has told reporters that that he's going to refuse the Institute of Martial Law. So how are you going to pull this one off?
You know who this guy belongs with? You weren't. It was Paul who was here on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We covered a story of a couple of Miami. I think they were from Miami, from Florida. A couple of Florida business people that got 20 years in jail for a Ponzi scheme that they ran.
Yeah.
And the fascinating thing about them was, so they got caught by the SEC in the fall of 2021.
Okay.
And then when they were, released on bail or their own reconnaissance or whatever,
started back up.
They started another one right after.
Wow, that's dumb.
It's like, okay, like they're probably looking at you at this point.
Well, you got hefty legal bills you got to pay.
They should get together with this guy.
Being investigated by...
Hey, my first coup failed, so you know what I'm going to do a week later? I'm going to tell you I'm coupping and try again. We're going to recoup.
Let's recoup.
Mulligan. Well, actually, no, it's great because of the spelling. We can try to recoup the recoup and see how many...
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's pretty. Again, this is actually pretty scary stuff. There are like 20. How many American military members are stationed in Korea? Like this is serious stuff, but it is kind of funny.
The first one was serious. When someone tells you they're going to coup again, I just don't know that it's that serious. Then,
yeah.
I mean, sure, like because it's right next to North Korea, you're sitting there and you're like, hey, does Kim Jong-un think that this is the time for him?
Right.
Probably not, because he's also not dumb. But I don't know.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, he's a very horrible human being, but he's not stupid. You don't exercise dictatorial control over an entire country by being very dumb.
Fair.
He might be a horrible human being, but I don't think he's stupid. Quick break here. We've got the trivia answer after this.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Early estate planning is crucial if you want to protect your assets and avoid massive tax consequences. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation, and their new free guide can help give you just that. It's called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. In it, you'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while reducing and potentially eliminating your estate taxes. If you have an existing estate plan but aren't sure about your potential liability, or you need a new plan, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and get this free guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. Don't leave your assets to chance. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request your guide online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Key Numbers to Know for 2025. Mike, when it comes to 401ks and their contribution limits, 2025 is a little bit unique in that it is the first year of the super catch-up limit.
It is, yeah. So there's a brand new contribution excess amount that you can put into your retirement plan, but only for a very specific window. You must be between the ages of 60 and 63 to participate in this special super catch-up contribution, according to the Secure Act 2.0. And so there's a little bit extra that you might be able to put in if you fall into that age demographic.
So how much is the normal 401k max? How much is the regular catch-up? And then how much is the super catch-up?
Yeah, so for the normal 401k contribution limits, the most that you can put in 2025 is going to be $23,500. If you are over the age of 50, you can do an extra $7,500 into that 401k. And then finally, if you just happen to be in that narrow band, you can do an additional $3,750 catch-up contribution on top of everything else that we already went through.
Folks, our guide this month is titled Key Numbers to Know for 2025, and this is just one of the numbers that's included in it. We also have discussions about IRA contribution limits, tax brackets, a whole bunch of different things that are included in here. How do you request the guide? Call 800-393-4001. That number again to request the guide is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Trivia question today was, what was the name of the rock supergroup that featured Roy Orbison? That would be the Traveling Wilburys. Bob from Derry, New Hampshire is our winner today, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Congrats to Bob. We play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
What is a Wilbury?
I don't know.
I don't either. Mike, let's talk a little bit about this great title, one of my favorite titles from a piece that we've seen this year. The piece is fine as well, but the title, A Retirement Expert's Best Advice. Don't retire.
Oh, that sucks.
So what is it you say you do here?
This is a piece by Jessica Hall about an economist named Alicia Munnell who has made a career around retirement economics. And
by the way, she's 82 and still working. Munnell is, so she's following her own advice.
She is following her own advice, and based on her research in good economic times, 40% of retirees cannot maintain their standard of living in retirement, while in bad economic times, that figure rises to 50%. So take that for what you will, but it kind of lines up with a lot of statistics that we know about, that half of Americans aren't really saving for retirement, that there's a huge portion of Americans that don't have any money invested. I think it's about half of Americans have no money invested in the stock market, for example. And so I don't think I find it immensely surprising. The advice really stinks. I mean, don't retire is your best retirement advice. But I have a different I guess, twist on it that I would say is useful. Go ahead.
No, you go, because you might have the same twist I do.
So where I see mistakes from folks is retiring because they feel like they're at that point where they are supposed to retire. And that is just a dumb idea. You should retire because there are specific things that you want to accomplish now that work is over, not because, hey, my employer said I can't work past 65, or my uncle, my cousin, my nephew, this, that, or the other. My father retired at 66, 67, 70 years old, and so that's when I'm going to retire because that's when it's done. Those are bad reasons to retire. Good reasons to retire is, hey, I've worked my rear end off. I have a bunch of things that I am healthy enough to accomplish and will have time to do so I am making a plan and I'm going to retire now.
That wasn't what I was going to say.
What was your twist?
So you said it was 40% of people have to change their standard of living in retirement?
Yes.
Is what she said?
Can't maintain that standard of living, so likely have to change it.
My question is on the other side. Hey, what's the percentage that could have retired earlier but didn't because they were too nervous that they were going to fall into that 40%? And I don't know, is it 10? Is it 20% of the retirees that fall into that bucket? I don't know. But how many people are out there who are saying, look, I do want to retire because I'm tired. I want to spend time with the grandkids, or I want to go travel the world, or I want to go build a sailboat and live alone on it. Whatever your thing is, that's fine. It doesn't have to be what anyone else wants you to do. But how many people put it off an extra year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and it's because they're too nervous about retiring?
Mm-hmm.
And then I've seen it a number and then something happens and they get sick or whatever.
That's where I was going to go to, which is a bit sad.
And then they miss out on something that they really wanted that they could have had.
Because ask people who are on their deathbed what their largest regrets are in life. It's almost never about not saving enough for retirement. It's always about, I had this opportunity, I didn't take it. I should have done that. I should have spent more time with family. I wish I had taken this opportunity or been just a little bit more confident in my decision-making process when I was younger. It's never, oh man, when I was 82, I had a worse lifestyle than I thought because I didn't put enough in my 401k. Are you kidding me? So I'm not telling everybody that you can afford to retire. That is definitely far from the truth. I am telling people that I frequently see folks who work in a job that they hate longer than they have to because they're worried about falling into this 40%.
Sure.
And they're worried about it with zero evidence that they will.
Yeah.
And so if you're listening right now, my point would be, I don't know which bucket you fall into. I don't know if you can afford to retire or not. But if you don't know either, then spend some time figuring it out. Because like I said, when I speak with folks about their regrets in life, it's almost never about, man, I wish I had worked a few extra years there. It's always about, oh, I wish I had spent my younger years better. If you have questions like that, if you don't know which bucket you fall into and whether or not you can afford to retire, please call the folks at Armstrong Advisory Group. We do this for our clients every day. We assess whether or not they can continue to maintain their lifestyle after they are cutting off their one way of pulling in an income for their entire lives. Call us at Armstrong Advisory Group at 800-393-4001. We offer free one-on-one consultations about this very subject. Again, that phone number for the Armstrong Advisory Group is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Mike, was it last week that we were covering the piece on financial scams versus financial fraud?
Yes.
Maybe it was
Might have
earlier
been
this
Monday.
week, whenever it was. I got a new one yesterday. I meant to talk
attempted fraud or scam?
Yes,
or,
I meant to talk about it during yesterday's show because I got a text message during one of the segments.
Ooh.
And it said that I had a parcel that was stopped at the Canadian border.
Oh, no.
Because there was an inaccurate zip code, and that I had to reply to this, and then I would be sent a link in order to get my information to Canadian Customs so that my package could get to me.
Important.
Now, I don't know very much about how things work at the Canadian-U.S. border. But here's one thing I do know. The first is, if something's coming into the United States, it's not going through Canadian customs, it's going through U.S. customs. So I picked up on that right away.
Uh-huh.
Beyond that.
You hadn't ordered any fur hats recently.
Beyond that. So my zip code was wrong on this parcel coming from Canada.
Yes.
But my phone number was correct?
Yeah.
And
correct.
And the Mounties just text you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's their normal way of reaching out.
The big thing that I say on all this, because, look, some of this stuff can get kind of scary and kind of spooky. If you get anyone who is texting you, calling you, saying you need to send money or fill out this link right now, hang up, put down the phone, don't text back, find a contact number on a piece of paper that you have in your house for whatever the thing is, or talk to a friend who can get you the contact number from the internet. If you're not like an internet person, like find a way to get an actual contact number and use that to actually figure out if something is going on or not. Do not, under any circumstances, start giving information to someone who says you need to move money right now or give them information right away. I do this, by the way, even with legitimate things. Someone who I work with sent me an email yesterday with an attachment in it. Before I opened it, called him up. Hey, did you send me an attachment? Yep, I did. Great, I'm going to open this now.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm a little paranoid on this stuff, but an ounce of paranoia prevents like a whole bunch of money being stolen.
I think that's my key message is adopt those practices of paranoia now, because what any cybersecurity expert will tell you is with the pace of development on artificial intelligence, it's about to become orders of magnitude more difficult to detect.
Let's take a quick break on that note, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Paul LaMonica from Barron's right after this.
Breaking business and financial news first throughout the day, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Inventory management is a critical element in a smooth business operation. SAB Solutions is your trusted advisor for an easy-to-organize management system that tracks your inventory using automated data collection and digital technology. Call them today at 508-359-8370 and let the experts at SAB Solutions evaluate your business while saving you time and money by efficiently coordinating your company's inventory and data. Call 508-359-8370 or visit them online at sabsolutionsma.com. Protect your assets and avoid tax consequences by getting Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while potentially eliminating your estate taxes. Get yours today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699 or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Planning for later life is a year-round effort, and with the calendar about to change, there are several important numbers to understand as we turn to the new year. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. In our new guide called Key Numbers to Know for 2025, we'll discuss a variety of topics that may help you with your planning for the upcoming year. The guide focuses on many subjects, among them numbers related to retirement account income and gifting limits, Medicare Part B premiums, and marginal tax brackets, all of which are crucial to your overall planning strategy. Learn about how these numbers may affect your financial plan in 2025 by calling our office today at 800-393-4001. Ask for your free guide called Key Numbers to Know for 2025. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. With the holiday season approaching, now is a great time to say thank you to our great American heroes by making a donation at dav5k.boston. Your gifts will support services such as the Veteran Advancement Program, which offers permanent and affordable housing opportunities for veterans and their dependents. Thank you again for your support. The DAV5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation.
As promised, we're now joined by Paul LaMonica from Barron's. We're talking about a small little telecom company by the name of Verizon today. Paul, how you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. What's got Verizon in the news in your eyes?
Yeah, I think Verizon is just an interesting stock to look ahead to in 2025. It hasn't done poorly per se, up about like 13% this year, but that lags the broader market by a decent amount, and it really is significantly smaller gain than what we've seen for AT&T and T-Mobile. So I think it just goes to show that the market might be underestimating Verizon's ability to continue to grow in a consolidating wireless market and also pay a dividend that is a lot more attractive than what AT&T even has, and clearly even more attractive than bond yields, which have been falling lately.
What is the dividend on Verizon these days?
At last check, it was about 6.7%. So that's a very, very strong dividend that would make it probably the leader in the so-called dogs of the Dow, the highest yielding Dow stocks.
When you look at it, the part that is just kind of, I guess, confusing but also interesting to me on one level is, look, if you sit here and look at the long-term chart of Verizon, the stock is at the same place it was at in 1998 right now. Obviously, you've collected the dividends over that time. Arguably, this has been a time where there's been a lot of excitement about expansion in telecoms, whether, moving people into cell phones first, then to data plans, then, 5G and things like that. If Verizon stock has been so stagnant over this 25-year period, for someone who looks at Verizon as a longer-term hold, what are some thoughts as to how the next 25 years could be different given all the excitement and theory about telecom for the last couple decades?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Make no mistake. The telecom business is by no means the Magnificent Seven. You're not going to get NVIDIA-type levels of growth from Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile. But I think the good news is that Verizon has stable and steady growth, which should help it if the economy inevitably slows down. We're talking about the soft landing for 2025, but cycles don't go on forever. There's eventually going to be another recession, and I think Verizon investors can really appreciate that strong yield. And again, this is now pretty much an oligopoly. Even if you throw in cable companies like Comcast into the mix, Verizon, has a very, very strong market share position in the converged telecom world, and that even includes the old, fiber to the home, business as well. Kind of traditional landlines aren't going away entirely, and Verizon's making a deal to buy Frontier Communications, which a deal that could close in early 2026 that could boost growth as well.
Paul, did anything ever come out of Verizon's acquisitions of AOL and Yahoo when they combined them into Oath, I think was the name of it? Is that still around? Is that doing anything at this point?
I mean, not for Verizon. I mean, that is in the same way that AT&T, I think, made a bit of a miscalculation with owning both content and the distribution side, to the chagrin of all my former colleagues at CNN when Warner Media was part of AT&T. I think Verizon definitely realized that Oath was probably a bit of a miscalculation, so they don't have that AOL Yahoo business anymore. That's private equity owned at this point. I'm trying to remember who it was, if it was Apollo that bought it, or but they're out of that. Yeah, they sold that in 2021 to Apollo Global Management. So that's not, Verizon Media is no longer a part of the story. I think investors are happy about.
Sure. Is there anything exciting that they're cooking up? Is 6G on the horizon? Like what's next from them?
Yeah. I mean, inevitably. I mean, we all know that in the same way that anyone who's been around long enough to remember when it was 3G and then it became 4G and 5G, inevitably there will be faster networks. But that's a double-edged sword. Once we get to that point, you're going to have Verizon as well as AT&T and T-Mobile spend aggressively on network build-outs. I think right now we're still hopefully at the stage for investors where most of the 5G investments have already been made and deployed, and now it's a matter of reaping the benefits of them, potentially with lower churn. Customers are hopefully happy with the services they have, and adding more subscriptions to the monthly pie. That's something that I think Verizon as well as AT&T and T-Mobile investors are counting on for the next few years. I mean, 6G inevitably will happen, but I think we're not there yet.
How many G's is enough, Paul?
I mean, I hope to live long enough that we wind up in the double-digit G's. But I'm not so sure I'd count on that. If I'm alive when 10G, whatever that is.
Who was it? One of the telecoms came out with a 10G that they had to retract because of marketing purposes. I think I forget who it was, but
I'm blanking, so I don't want to misidentify anyone and accuse them of false advertising. But I do vaguely remember that there was a false claim of ludicrous speeds, to quote Spaceballs.
Fantastic. Paul, we appreciate you joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one, guys.
It's Paul LaMonica from Barron's talking about Verizon, also known as Verizon.
It appears that it was Xfinity, by the way.
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
it's fine. What else you got?
I would like to go to Waymo because I am a new Waymo convert, and if they could just figure out how to drive in snowy, icy, rainy, one-way street Boston, I'd be all over them.
We'll see you
Waymo,
in 2086.
Yeah, Waymo, the self-driving car unit of Alphabet, is expanding to Miami, which seems like another area that, so long as it's not in the middle of a hurricane, would be pretty easy for them to navigate. So seeing some success both in San Francisco and Phoenix, I believe, are the only two areas they currently operate, and adding a third one in the United States By 2026 are their plans.
Yeah, this is exciting to me in terms of what they're doing here. Again, it's a slow and deliberate rollout, but it also, again, you think about all the data that they have and all of the rides they're actually undertaking. I think they're now up to doing about 1 million rides a month. The idea that Tesla is going to come in and suddenly have every car able to do this nationwide,
it's laughable.
Like it just doesn't pass the sniff test.
Yeah. One other thing that I'm just confused by, all of the vehicles are Jaguars. Just don't really understand that one.
It's a strange partnership.
It is.
You'd figure
something a little bit cheaper would make more sense there, but nonetheless, they're all Jaguars.
Right? How about a Honda or a Ford or
right there with
a Kia? I don't know. There's plenty to choose from. Like, take your pick. But makes you wonder what percentage of Jaguar sales are going just to Waymo.
A lot of them.
Let's take a quick break here for the entire weekend. Hope you all have a great one. We're going to see you back here on Monday, kicking off a new week on the Financial Exchange.